Hello, hello, hello. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Victory Talk. I am your host, Lady J, Jackie, Reverend Jackie, whatever you like to call me. I am fine with that. I'm just so excited to be with you all once again this evening on this awesome October evening. Amen. We are now officially in fall. So I'm just going to real quick just say welcome to my guests. We have with us this evening for Your Vote Matters. We want to talk about voting in the current climate that we are in. We have with us this evening, we have Linda Dorsey Walker. She is the Democratic National Convention delegate. Two times around, y'all. Two times around, praise God. And we also have Crystal Francis. Is it Dr. Crystal Francis? It
Yes,
is
yes,
Dr. Crystal Francis, and we welcome her. She is the president of the Baltimore, Maryland Central Democratic Committee. Is that correct? I
yes,
got my
ma'am.
homework right? Yes. Awesome. And we have our very own Rosita Cedar Gray. Y'all know she is a member of Victorious Living Faith. She's a sister, homegirl. Me and Cedar go way back for a minute now. And so we are excited to have her. And she serves over the 6th district in Baltimore County. And so we are just so excited about what this evening's show is going to bring. So, real quick, I'm going to let these ladies share, and then we have questions. Everyone, I ask that you would share, like, tweet, YouTube, Facebook, whatever. Just tell somebody, come on, whatever questions you have about voting in this election, this is your opportunity to get some answers. So, we are going to start with Linda. Linda, we are going to let you introduce yourself and, just share with the people some of your background.
Sure. I'm Linda Dorsey Walker, and I'm from Baltimore County, and I've been proud to have been serving on the Baltimore County Democratic State Central Committee for the last 6 terms. So I've been elected 6 times to the Baltimore County Democratic State Central Committee, and that makes me one of the longest serving people on the Maryland Democratic Party system. And in addition to that, I've also had the privilege of being elected twice to a national delegate to Democratic National Convention. This most recent time was 77,000 votes. And so I'm very, very happy to be here. I've got a lot of information that I'd like to share because I've been around for a long while.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Next, we want to just jump in here, and we want to hear from you, Dr. Crystal Francis, before because we know that you are multitasking and you are doing so much, but we definitely want to hear from you this evening as well, Dr. Francis. Crystal.
I'm sorry, say it again.
Yes, we want to because I know that you are multitasking and you have another thing that you're working on as well. But we would definitely want to hear from you being the president and everything. So please give us your background and whatever you would like to share.
Yeah, so hi, my name is Dr. Crystal Francis. I'm the chair of the Baltimore County Democratic State Central Committee. So excited. We have a lot of things going on, but the most important thing that I want to share today is to encourage people to please exercise your right to vote. We have a very important election coming up. Tomorrow we are 30 days out from the general election, and we want to encourage everyone to exercise your right to vote. We know that COVID-19 has presented some very new challenges for voters this season, but rest assured there are many ways that you can exercise your right to vote, whether that is requesting a mail ballot to have the ballot delivered to your house where you can fill it out, you can put it back in the mail, or you can drop it off at one of the drop boxes conveniently located around Baltimore County. You can also have the option to vote in person, but also if you do that, we encourage you to ensure that you are properly maintaining your social distance, wearing a mask, and just being safe if you're going to vote in person. You can also vote in person on election day and early vote. And then you can also request the email ballot, which some people do, where it will be delivered to you via email. You would print it out, fill it out, and then mail it in or send it in via Dropbox. So whatever way you choose, we want people to ensure that they have a plan to vote. Create your plan now so that you can execute it. That's what we want to communicate today.
Wow. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And we want to, Cedar Gray, Rosita Gray, introduce yourself and share with us what you would like to share.
Well, I'm the rookie of the crew. I'm new to the Central Democratic Committee. And I'm in the process of getting my hands dirty, or as you can say, to build and work with the community to make sure this is done. Because one thing I realized, the change is within you. The change is within me. And if we don't do anything about it, what do we have to leave for our grandkids and for our children? So with that being said, we got to get out and vote, because if you do nothing, then you have nothing to say. And me, I don't plan on being the one to do nothing, have nothing to say, because I realize I want to leave an awesome future for those grandsons that I have. So that's what I am. The rookie that's getting ready to get his hands dirty for good cause.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say, Cedar, you're already getting your hands dirty. I see you. We see you. So we know that you're already active. So ladies, and this question I'm just going to put out there, and it doesn't, whichever one of you want to answer it is fine with me. What is the purpose of this committee?
Well, I'd like to take that. The Baltimore County Democratic State Central Committee is the local strata for a system that exists all the way up to the national level. So we have in every one of the 24 jurisdictions around Maryland, a Democratic State Central Committee. On the Republican side, there's Republican Central Committee. But our counterpart at the state level is the Maryland Democratic State Central Committee, also known as just the Maryland Democratic Party. At the national level, that Maryland Democratic Party is one of 50 that feed into the National Democratic Party. And they lay out the structure and format for all of us to follow in terms of elections and organization and so forth. And from time to time, every 4 years, we have elections. And every 4 years, those individuals who are interested in running in their respective jurisdictions have the opportunity to file to run for a Democratic State Central Committee seat. Now, in Rosita Gray's case, she did not join us that way. She joined us because one of the goals of the Democratic Party is to make sure that our Central Committee stay gender balanced at all times. And so we always have to have an equal number of males and females. And at one point, we had too few females. So we sent out word, hey, we've got some openings, and anyone that's interested, please apply. In her case, she applied for an at-large seat, which meant that anyone from anywhere in Baltimore County, not a particular district, could run. And I will tell you, remember I told you I've been on for 6 terms, that's almost 24 years. And for a long, long time, I have been trying to get someone from the Turner Station area to apply. And I was so grateful when Rosita stepped forward and said, hey, use me. And let me tell you, when she showed up for her interview with the nominations committee, she blew everyone away. Yes, indeed. And so even though we chose 2 other people to be the at-large members, I said, look, we've got to make a space for her. We've got to bring her in as an associate member until an extra at-large member seat comes up. And so she came on last December, and as an associate member, and a few months later, everyone was 100% agreed she has to be an at-large member on our Central Committee. And she has been doing more work in just a few months, and I say that without exaggeration, than almost anyone who's come on as a brand new fresh member in all the years that I've been serving.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I mean, you know, people always ask me, what is the Central Committee? You can look at us as the grassroots governing body of the Democratic Party. So we're the ones that get all the organization together. We're the ones that help develop the party platform that the president, who our nominee would endorse. We do all of the hard work, the knocking on the doors during election day, the keeping the homeowners associations and the voters engaged on off-season, on policy-oriented topics. Right now, many of you may be paying attention to the police reform bill that's getting ready to pass on the Baltimore County level. Many Central Committee members have been involved in ensuring that that policy is going to include everything we would like in it.
And can I say one other important role that we serve? A lot of people don't realize it, but every few years, there is an opening on the Baltimore County Board of Elections, and it's the Baltimore County State Central Committee that actually nominates people to serve on the Baltimore County Board of Elections. When Republicans are in, of the 5 members, they get 3 seats. When Democrats are in power as governor, then we get the majority of seats. But we have a 5-member district. Right now, 2 Democrats are serving. And we also have people that we encourage and support who are running for school board and so forth. So as Crystal just said, we're the engine. We provide the energy, we back candidates, we support them, and we also go around and educate the public. I know for years I've been going around speaking to public groups, just giving them some advice about how to use the electoral process and how it works. And I sit in at all the State Board of Election meetings, and I try to bring that information back to our community so that we're aware of where we are and what we should be doing.
Yes. And the final important thing that I would like to note is everyone has heard of the popular vote versus electoral college when we're talking about who elects our president. Well, one of the luxuries as being the chair of either a local central committee in the state party is that chair of the Democratic National Committee has the luxury of selecting the electoral college members for our state. We have 10 electoral college members that will cast their vote in December after the popular vote, which regular voters like us, we go and cast our ballots for the president. But after that, the electoral college casts their vote, and the chair of the the state DNC has the luxury of selecting those 10 electoral voters for the state of Maryland.
I tell you, you ladies are all over my questions. All over my questions. But before I go to my next question, I have to ask, because you put emphasis, Linda, you put emphasis on Turner Station. Why was it so important to get someone so active from the Turner Station area?
I'll tell you why. I'm not from Turner Station. I don't have any family members there. But for 7 years, I was a writer for the Baltimore Afro-American newspaper. And I went down to Turner Station to do a series of articles. This was back when you all were having charrettes. And actually, one of the families there were related to my mother's pastor. He was pastor at Ebenezer Baptist Church. And so I went down and started writing about Turner Station, and I said to everyone, Billings Mills, wow, you have no idea what a treasure these folks are sitting upon. Waterfront view, close family knit community, and I had known for many years Dunbar Brooks and worked closely with him on a number of initiatives, especially around the census and so forth. And I said, I read a lot about Turner Station and its history and how it used to be, And I said, they deserve a voice. They deserve a seat at the table. Not just people on the western side of the county in Randallstown, Woodlawn, and Owings Mills, but the African American population that's on the eastern side of the county needed to have a seat at the table too. So I'm glad that with Crystal and also Rosita representing the 6th district, what a wonderful team they are.
Oh, okay, awesome. Dr. Francis, I didn't realize that you were from the 6th district as well. I think she might be on mute. Okay, and so I think you kind of both of you touched on what you do, but can you break it down into, so to speak, layman's terms, Rosita,
yeah, of course, yes, sir.
On what it is that you do?
We are the ground people. We are the face of everything. We're the ones that'll be knocking on your door. We'll be the ones standing out in the corner. We're to be the ones handing out literature. We're to be the ones telling you exactly what's going on. We're the ones that if you need flyers or posters, can get it. Right now it's been a little slow because of the COVID, but the ground people. And the ones that if you have a question you can come to and ask, and we have a quicker way of being able to find out the answer than what you will find out on your own. And so you can say ground people, point of contact people, and things of that sort. And like the in between, like the connection. You know how like a phone doesn't work unless you got the well, in the old days a phone didn't work unless you had a cord connected to it. And that in between thing that makes it work, that's us.
So how do is the public just how does the public get in contact with you if they needed to, if they had a question, had concerns, felt as though that their community wasn't being represented? How do they get in contact with you? Is there some direct lines? Is there a direct point of contact in each neighborhood? How does that work?
Well, that is having your district representation. So Rosita represents the 6th district, and so that would be the individual that people would come to be the direct connection. We also have a website. We're on social media. We have a general phone line. We have an email address. So there are many ways to connect with us. We also have monthly public meetings that occur on the 3rd Tuesday of every month. Because of COVID-19, we're operating virtually, and we stream those live from our Facebook page. So people are always welcome to come watch our meetings, their public meetings, and to engage with us. And in addition to that, we educate our members and voters that subscribe to our newsletter on events and things that are happening around the county if they can only engage in events. And so that is the way we're currently keeping people connected.
Right. But if someone wants to reach us directly, they can email us at info@Baltimore County Dems with an S, DEMS, all one word, .com. info@BaltimoreCountyDems.com, or just go to keyword and type in Baltimore County Democratic Party. If you type in Baltimore County Democratic Party, it opens you up to our site, and you can find out about us. You'll see our photos. You'll see the relationships that we have with other elected officials and some of the events that are taking place and some of our goals. And also if there are any openings on the Central Committee. Like we just finished closing, we had a deadline this week because we had some gender balance applications accepted for 2 male positions. So we're going to be, filling those slots sometime soon. So as Crystal said, the best part is that anyone at home can live stream our meetings and just get a taste for what we do.
Awesome. So aside from your meetings, is that how you're operating in this COVID-19 season? Because I know that I kind of got the impression that you do a lot of, door knocking and contact. And, I know that there have been some other gatherings, but how are you guys, pulling things together beyond just the, social media and the streams? How else are you, bringing it all together?
Caravans, door
Yeah.
knocking, going to the streets, going to different communities. We have things planned for every Saturday to be able to go out and get to the people.
Yeah. Like tomorrow at 11:30 in the Cockeysville area, we're going to have a car caravan. We're going to be reaching out to people in Cockeysville and Fredonia and so forth, and especially trying to reach Baltimore County's new international community. But as Roxita said, we have something planned. Signways caravans, and also now the Biden campaign has said they're going to start encouraging people to travel, as we've done in previous election cycles, to other battleground states and do some good old-fashioned canvassing. It may not be as face-to-face as has been in the past. It may just involve a door knock and then stepping back to the end of the sidewalk, but we hope to have more direct contact with the voters in Pennsylvania, Virginia, North Carolina, Michigan, and so forth. And guess what? You don't have to be a Central Committee member to go with the group when they go. And so if people are interested in doing some of that face-to-face, work in battleground states or just here in Maryland, just contact us and go to the website for volunteers.
Now, are you giving out literature as well as you're doing this?
I think it's going to be their plan. They just made the decision yesterday
Okay.
after several months of the Trump administration, the Trump campaign doing canvassing. The Biden administration just decided yesterday for the first time across the nation that they're going to do canvassing door to door.
Now, how effective is it? Is this something that really helps the voters in making their decisions? Have you found, and I'm speaking directly to you, Ms. Walker, because you got a lot of years of experience here. And so I'm curious to know, is that type of campaigning, is it as effective? We're seeing phone calls and you see the TV ads and, now we're getting text messages left and right nowadays, for campaigning. But is the, face-to-face campaigning more effective?
Well, for me personally, I love the face-to-face campaigning. I've been campaigning since I was about 12 years old in the streets, and then working at the polls, election cycle after election cycle. And you get to know your neighbors and people who are like grassroots people like Roxita. They don't have to get to know their neighbors. Their neighbors come up to them and say, based on the fact that you got exposed to all this information, what do you think I should do? And those are the connections that we need, those kinds of personal relationships. And sometimes over time, you can develop it with people from backgrounds totally different from yours. And I know that Crystal has been reaching out to a lot of non-traditional communities and opening up doors for them. And I think she wanted to say something about that, didn't you, Crystal?
Crystal?
Crystal.
Can you hear us, Crystal?
Sorry, I was on mute.
I was saying that under your administration, we're starting to reach out to some of the traditional communities, not just African Americans, not just other groups as well.
Yes, and that is so true, because one of the things that we have to understand is we have to try to diversify, our base. And what that looks like is changing the format and method and the way that we do things. We've been trying to ensure that we have representation. We've been trying to diversify our membership. But we have been incorporating a lot of virtual things to, number one, meet our millennial generation. I'm a millennial. And so one of the things that we're actually getting ready to launch this month to do so is a voter education podcast, We've also been ensuring that we are going around the community filming videos on why it's important to vote so that voters can see people that look like them talking about why voting resonates and why it's important to vote in every single election. So yes, we are doing a lot of things. Just recently over on the West Side, there was a voter registration event that took place. One of our members, Aisha Khan, was heading up that effort. And it's just amazing to see. They call the Democratic Party the Big Tent Party because we have a lot of diversity, not only in thought and mind, but of ethnicity, background, and lived experience. So it's important that we engage. And then finally, we hold a unity dinner every year. And because of COVID-19, again, we're trying to find a way to, still have the same scale and incorporate a virtual piece, but also we're exploring ways in which we can probably do some socially distanced gathering outside underneath a tent so that we can have a Meet the Democratic Central Committee Day where people can just come, get to know us in a relaxed forum, not during our meetings, where they can just talk and have real conversations with us.
Crystal, you just touched on briefly about how important it is to vote in every election. And these are some conversations that I've had with not just young adults, but, some seasoned adults. But share with us, can you break it down how important it is to vote in every election?
Yes. So I am 35 years old. I have been voting ever since I was 18 years old. I have never missed an election. I was registered to vote when I was in high school at the age of 16 and waited until it was time for me to vote. And so I've been engaging and helping and volunteering at the polls, but it's very important because when we talk about politics and how it translates to your everyday life, the change that people want to see really happens on the local level. So every 4 years, we're nominating our president, and it's important to participate in that election because you're going to elect your Senate and your House of Representatives and your president. But in the gubernatorial election, where you're electing your governors and your county executives, your school board, your sheriffs, and a lot of people don't realize that the county executive chooses who the chief of police is going to be. And some of the changes that we want to see when police reform, just when trash is picked up, how much budget your local school jurisdiction gets, that happens in the gubernatorial election when you're electing your governor, when you're electing your state representatives, the House of Delegates, the state senators, and your county council people. So it's very important that you don't just vote in the presidential. I think a lot of times people vote in the presidential because it's popular and it's national news. But you cannot forget local politics because local politics is what determines the change in your backyard.
That's right. And can I add just one other thing?
Absolutely.
She's been involved since she was 18. And as I said, I've been out there since I was 12. No one has to wait to get involved. Year round, there are several Democratic clubs on the eastern side of Baltimore County. In the old days, the only people who joined them didn't look like you and me. That's got to change. You don't need to run for office. Just pay the $25 to $20. Join these Democratic clubs over on the eastern side of the county and start creating the change that you want at the grassroots level. In addition to that, if you do want to get involved with the electoral process, you only have to be 17 years old to say, I think I'd like to be an election judge. This year, they changed the pay rate, because of the COVID per they changed it from $185 per day to $285 per day. And some people will be working 8 early election days and 1 general election day times $285 per day. So that's a nice piece of money for people 17 or just about any other age. And, you don't have to be 18 to register to vote. You just have to be 18 by the next birthday that you have, by the next presidential election that's taking place, or the next election cycle. So if you're 16 and a half, you can actually fill out a form. You won't be able to vote until your 18th birthday takes place. But anyone 16 and a half can go ahead and get registered. So you can be a poll watcher. You can do all kinds of things, electioneering and so forth. So everyone at any age and at every stage has an ability to get involved. I know there are people out there who are, Roxita, your mom's out there.
He is, and I can speak from my own experience. Because for one, I might be a rookie with being with the Central Democratic Committee, but I'm not a rookie as far as in going out and campaigning and going door to door and passing out flyers and doing things like this. And I can say I've had experiences to where I've been out there in strange neighborhoods, like out in Pennsylvania, right? Knocking on door to door and building a conversation with the people. And when you're able to answer the questions correctly, you can easily turn them over to your candidate. And I've experienced that firsthand. So it is important when you make that contact with that person. They see your face. Sometimes they even get to hear a little of your story of what you've been through and why you've come to that conclusion, which can bring them over. And I've experienced that. And with different cultures. And one thing about when you're looking at this video right here, you're seeing 3 Black women and as being a part of representation. But when you go to the committee, and we have all ethnicities and that are a part of this group. In fact, we are really the small minority of the group. And but we have worked our way up to have better representation in the group. So, because like if you were to come and see us, you're going to see a majority of Caucasians, and you're going to see a few Indians, and you're going to see few people from other ethnic backgrounds. And so I don't want you to look at this and see 3 Black women. You're also going to see some Black men, because we have some Black men that are very active in here as well. And so I'm just answering your question in a roundabout way. And that's the thing. That's all right. That door-to-door works. And we are well-rounded. And some of y'all can come on and work with us, because after all, the change is in you.
That's right.
If you sit back and do nothing, how is it going to happen?
At any age and at any stage of life.
Yes. And in our group, we have them from the very young to the very old.
Literally 21 years old and up.
So you touched on voter registration. Let's talk about that briefly. So is it too late to register to vote?
No, not at all. You have up until October 13th to register to vote. Please don't wait until the very last day. Because if you wait till the very last day, you may or may not get it in the mailbox in time, and you may get it there by 5 o'clock, and they don't pick it up to the 14th. If you wait until the last minute, take it directly to the Board of Elections. Don't wait. Just return whatever it is that you need to be returned. Now, let me explain where we are in the process right now. Today is the 2nd of October. They started sending out people who had requested their mail-in ballots and got their request in by October 19th. By September 19th. Then those individuals have already had their actual ballot started to be mailed out to them 3 or 4 days ago. Some of them are still on their way, so if you haven't gotten yours yet, don't panic.
Got mine.
Oh, so you got yours. If you waited until after the 19th, you'll have to wait a little bit longer in order to get yours. But as soon as you get it, you have several options. You don't have to wait until election day or early voting days. Just mail it back, take it to the post office, drop it in the mailbox. Or what a lot of people don't know is that their postal worker can also deliver it, but I wouldn't take that chance right now. we have around Baltimore County, and one of the locations is Solace Point Multipurpose Center, drop boxes. So right now, Baltimore County has 13 drop boxes in place. 30 more are on their way. And we're going to have them in place by approximately October 27th or 28th. They'll be spread out around the county. So if you just don't want to stand in line, take your mail-in ballot, whether it arrives this week, next week, or the following week. Take your mail-in ballot to a drop box and have the comfort of knowing, instead of saying, will it get there, be delivered by the post office on time, have the comfort of knowing they pick up those from those boxes twice a day. So the very day that you put it in the box, it will not be in that box overnight. They cannot leave one single ballot in the box overnight. So the same day that you put it in, it's going to be in the board at the Board of Elections. So please take that option. And if you don't have anything that's been delivered to you on time, don't get discouraged. Come during one of the early voting days to, and I'm going to use this term, to a vote center. You'll notice I didn't call it a polling place. You'll notice I didn't call it a precinct. In the old days before COVID, all of us were assigned a voting place. And you had a precinct. Some polling places had 2 precincts in one polling place. This time, that's not going to be the case. This time, because instead of 238 polling places, we're only going to have 43 vote centers. You can go to any one of them anywhere in Baltimore County. So if you are working in Towson and you live in Turner Station and you're like, oh my goodness, am I going to get home on time? Drop it off in Towson. See, drop it off at the location in Towson. Drop it off at the location in Randallstown. If you get to Randallstown doing early voting and there seems to be a line forming, go to the Woodlawn site. Go to the Owings Mill site. Go to Hannah Moore. So the purpose is to make it easier and avoid lines as much as possible.
So are you saying that I can go? I live in Edgewood, Maryland. Mm-hmm. Can I go to, say, down to Solace Point and vote?
You live in Harford County.
I'm in Harford County.
You can vote in any site in
Harford County.
You cannot vote in Baltimore County.
Okay.
You won't have the Baltimore County ballot. See, we will have the Baltimore County ballot and you will have the Harford County ballot. But you can go anywhere in Harford County, just like I can go anywhere in Baltimore County. And let me just say, early voting starts October 26th. And this time, there won't be a gap between early voting and general election day. They're going to continue it straight through. Early voting is from October 26th through November 2nd, and general election day is November 3rd. There won't be any gap.
I know that I'm coming back to this, but I feel as though this is a point that needs to be reiterated. So anyone in Baltimore County who is going to vote, it's not just to drop off their election if they're going to vote via mail. They can also go in person and go to any location within the county that they live in to vote. Same thing for the city, correct?
Yes. And let me warn, please let me triple underline this, folks. Please do not put your ballot request form in a drop box. That drop box, and it will say it on the box. This is only for signed and completed and sealed election ballots, not for anything else, not to send in letters, not to send in your ballot request form, none of that. Those ballot request forms, they're now asking for everyone to get them in, even though it says by at the latest October 20th. They really are now asking you to get it in a week ahead of time to be extra sure that you get your ballot mailed back to you in time. And again, if you don't get anything, don't stay at home. Absolutely don't. Go to any one of those 42 sites, and then just say, I'd like to complete a provisional ballot, and they must allow you to do that if they don't have a completed ballot for you at that time.
Let me ask you this. For students that are in college, that are, I know that with COVID-19, the going back and forth and the transporting or whatever, people are trying to keep that down to a minimum. What do students that are in college do in terms of voting? Say I live, I'm going to school in Pennsylvania and I live in Maryland. How do I get my vote in then?
You vote wherever you're registered. So if you're registered in Maryland, then you vote in Maryland. Now, some older students that are in graduate school and they've moved to Pennsylvania, they've declared that Pennsylvania is their new place of residence and they need to register there, in which case they'll vote in the Pennsylvania election. But if you are still living at home with your parents, still being declared a dependent, you're still using that as your major address and you got registered in Maryland, then you should have requested, and you still can, a mail-in ballot. So you still have until the 13th, because what happened was during the last week in August 24th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 28th, they mailed to every single citizen of Maryland, whether you were living abroad, whether you were in college, whether you were in the military, they mailed you an absentee ballot request form. It doesn't require an envelope because the envelope came. You don't have to address it because the address is on the envelope. It doesn't require a stamp because it says no need for a stamp to return this to the Board of Elections. So everyone should have an absentee ballot request form that they've already returned or they're about to return. And I'm asking change about to tonight or tomorrow.
Okay. I do have a question. Go ahead.
And didn't get it because a lot of people have called and said, I didn't get my form because they moved and did not update the Board of Elections on their new address. So one thing that people can do is go to the Board of Elections website to update your address. There is a tool on the website called Voter Lookup. And what you can do is look up your information to see what the Board of Elections has on file for your address. And if you did not receive that document that Linda is talking about, you can go to elections.maryland.gov, elections.maryland.gov, to look at your voter registration status, to check the address they have on file, and to make any changes that you need.
Okay, I have a one of our viewers have a question. Looking at the current election, how important is this election, speaking not just for the next 4 years, but also for the Democratic Party going forward into our future?
Well, this election is very, very important. Every election is important. But if you look at the leadership that's happened, not only the handling of COVID-19, if you watch the news today, you would have found that our current president has been diagnosed with COVID-19, but he has been the main person that has been really not even speaking to the seriousness of the disease, and that's who we have in leadership right now. Since the announcement, the stock market has since plummeted, and that this is a terminology that's being used on world news, because people are scared. If Trump gets another 4 years, unfortunately, you can see his track record right now. If you're not satisfied with the outcome, many people have lost their jobs due to COVID-19. Many people have been unable to get back on their feet. If you also notice, we lost a Supreme Court justice. And the current administration is trying to, while an election is currently in progress, because people in other states like Virginia have already begun to cast their vote for the presidency. They're trying to fill a slot for the Supreme Court justice before this current election is called. So if you are concerned about healthcare, people say that's on the ballot. It's not really on the ballot, but the justice that is going to presently be elected has a view that healthcare for all as a government mandate is unconstitutional in her opinion. Rolling back a lot of the Roe v. Wade and things like that. So if those policies are important to you, then voting right now should matter to you.
Yes, and can I say this as well? We must vote up and down the ticket. Vote for, lock that in your brain. Vote for the Democrats, not just the Democratic president. Election cycle after election cycle, I've seen people walk in and then they'll come back out and say, yeah, I voted for your candidate, you know. Well, who else did you vote for? Well, I mean, I just really just, you know, voted for the main one, the president. Not this time. Not this time. This time it is urgent that we hold on to our majority in the House of Representatives, and more important, that we overtake and capture the Senate. Why? Because we need them to approve Supreme Court justices. Now, with the death of Justice Ginsburg, people are saying, how can we keep those many, many decisions that were ruled in our favor from being overturned? I'm not just talking about civil rights decisions, but women's rights decisions, environmental rights decisions, things dealing with transportation services that make it possible for people to move about freely without being harassed. There's a whole bunch of decisions that have been made, and some people may agree with some people may not, but here's the important part. The only way that we will have a say over protecting our future is if we vote up and down the cycle. Here's the other thing. We need, because we were promised, a whole bunch of infrastructure to be done in our infrastructure repairs to be done in our older urban areas like Baltimore. We're not, I went out to Denver, Colorado, and I was like, wow, look at all this new stuff. Boy, wow, I wish we had all these new looking buildings and fancy buildings. We don't have that here. Our infrastructure, our water system and so forth, which was built very well 150 years ago, 200 years ago, needs to be rebuilt. Those are good, hardcore jobs. The kinds of jobs that people from Turner Station used to work when we had a steel industry and more of a port business. We need those jobs back again. We should never again be in a pandemic where we're relying upon buying our products from overseas when we have hardworking people in Baltimore City, Baltimore County, Harford County, Anne Arundel County, who can make that stuff right here and put the U.S. seal of approval on it. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Us taking over all, not just the presidency, but both houses, so we can bring back all that stuff in a way that doesn't threaten people, doesn't intimidate people, welcomes people who have skills that can bring from other countries. I want it all to be brought back in a dignified way.
And also what's on the ballot that people, because oftentimes I used to serve as an election judge for a number of years. And a lot of times people would come in, they know who they wanted to vote for the top of the ticket. That's your president race, your congressional race, your Senate race. But then when you started to get down to the ballot questions, there are always referendums on the ballot, which are policy related questions where voters have been asked to make a determination on whether or not they are for or against the question on the ballot. A lot of people come in and they don't know how to answer the questions. So they'll say, I don't know. A lot of times you see questions related to the state budget on that ballot. You may see questions related to new policies in Baltimore County. There's a fair election with an effort to take big money out of politics. And so it's going to incentivize candidates that do not take big PAC money, political action committee money, or big donor money from corporations. And so we also want our voters to educate themselves on those questions. One of my favorite resources to go to learn about the question and to look at both sides of what happens if you vote for or what happens if you vote against that question is ballotpedia.com. It's kind of like Wikipedia, but it's Ballotpedia, and it kind of breaks down what's going to be on your ballot in your jurisdiction. So I encourage you to visit the ballotpedia.org website to educate yourself on the questions. You can also go into Google and just type in ballot questions and then your county, or ballot questions for the state of Maryland, and it'll bring up what questions are going to be on your ballot this election.
Also, we have some judges that are running this time, that are running for re-election, and I will say, just please go ahead and re-elect those folks. I know them. I know some of them very personally, and they are, I'm not going to call any particular names, but one of them was one of our first early African-American female judges. I'm not saying that her name is Vicki Whitler Watts, but
yes, that's also my soror, Delta Sigma Theta sorority and corporate.
But please vote to return our judges. That's why I say up and down. They're not, as a judge, you're not identified with a Republican or Democratic party, but every 15 years, the judges have to be re-elected, and this is her first time for being re-elected.
Yes, please re-elect her. She works hard.
You say she works hard? Well, I'm sure if she's involved in this process, she's working plenty hard. Any myths that either of you can put to rest about voting?
Yes, I hate to hear this. My vote doesn't count. Let me tell you, if you were in Baltimore County, we had the last election, we voted for our county executive. Linda, how many votes did he win by?
17 votes.
So if the 17 people helped get him over the threshold to win the majority. So when people say that their vote does not count, let me tell you, that's far from the truth. Every single vote counts, and your vote is your voice. I used to listen to Ricky Smiley morning show on my way to work when I was driving and not teleworking. And he used to always say, if you're not a part of the solution, you're a part of the problem. So people, if you are unhappy with the way things are going, you have an opportunity to elect leaders that have your values, that are going to put forth the agenda that you want them to put forth. But when you say your vote doesn't matter and you sit out in the election, you did not have a say. You did not have a say on who became your leader and what the priority and the agenda for your community is. So every vote counts.
I'm glad you asked the question you did, because, oh boy, is this important. Especially if you live in the Baltimore metropolitan area, where for whatever reason, a large number of people made mistakes early on in their life and ended up getting prison records. Do not think that the law is still the same as when you went to prison. Some of us went down and lobbied for years in Annapolis to have the law change to give to restore voting rights to people who have come out of prison. For some people, they went to jail so early they never had a voter's card. They never had a chance to register. But if you are male or female, you can come out of prison, and as long as you haven't murdered anyone, if you've gone there for just about any other charge, you should be aware that you not only have the ability now to register to vote, it is very much to your favor to register to vote, because right now we have all these returning citizen programs, and Dr. Crystal Francis is affiliated with some of them, where we're trying to restore prisoners' rights and give people a second chance at life. And so Take your little ones, even if they were born while you were behind, in jail. Take your little ones with you, and let them see you vote. Even if you just drop in the ballot in the ballot box, we're asking every family, if you drop in the ballot in, take a selfie, take a picture of yourself, have your kids there with you dropping the ballot in the ballot box. Especially, it's important for those that have served time in the past. Give you a chance to have some say over your future, and you won't be able to have say unless you have a right to vote. And I would encourage any young people who have been part of the Job Corps program, remember, you have a right to vote. You may not be living at home with mom and dad. You may have lost your right to stay in your community. Now you're at Job Corps. For the last several election cycles, I've gone down and gotten buses of young people, last several times, over 100 young Job Corps people registered on the spot. Did you hear what I said? When I started voting a long time ago, when all of us started voting a long time ago, guess what? You couldn't register the same day as you wanted to vote. But now, for the last couple of election cycles, so long as you do it, listen to this, during one of the 8 early voting days, you can come in, say, I've never voted before, I'm a new voter, and it could be because maybe you're a returning citizen, maybe you're, new and didn't, just haven't gotten plugged into the system in Maryland yet, and they will allow you to vote. It may be on a provisional ballot, but guess what? Those provisional ballots count too. So don't let anything stop you, not even if it's the last minute. Now, don't wait till the last minute of general election day. But during those 8 early voting days, October 26th to November 2nd, come in during that time and say, yeah, this might be my first time voting, but I want to vote.
Now, quick question, because we're about to wrap up, but I also want to remember our homeless community, our brothers and sisters who, for whatever reason, don't have, shelter at this particular time. How do they go about registering to vote? Can they vote? What's the...
So long, you can't use a mail and box number. You can't use a post office box number. But if you've been living in one of the shelters, and this, I'm glad you said this, because this was 2 election cycles. This lady came up to me and I talked with her just like I'm talking right now. And she said, I know all these ladies who are at this certain shelter. And do you think they will be able to vote? And that was the first time that they had same day voting. Do you know, about 2 hours later, that lady came back with 25 shelter moms. I was blown away. And it was all of their first time voting, even though some of them were in their 30s, some of them were in their 40s. They brought their children with them and they voted.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah,
well, ladies, awesome.
And I just wanted to throw this in there real quick. People with transportation problems. People always say, I don't have it because the boxes are going to be spread out. We're doing a ride to the drop box ride to the poll. So if someone needs a ride in Baltimore County to the poll, please go to baltimorecountydems.com. There will be a form on our website. Please request a ride to the poll. We're going to provide socially distanced rides, or we'll provide assistance with getting your ballot to a drop box.
So once again, can you repeat that for me? My producer is trying to type that in.
Yes, Baltimore County Dems, DEMS.com.
BaltimoreCountyDems.com for a ride.
Yeah, ride to the poll, ride to the drop box. A lot of our seniors have been asking for assistance getting their ballot to a box.
I can't even begin to just say thank you to you ladies. This has been so informative. And I pray that I would hope that I really want to bring you back again next month. Being as though we'll be right at the door of election day. So prayerfully, even if I've got to do a special show, I would ask that if you would consider coming back and just sharing, if it just a brief something or whatever, because I think your voices just have been so impactful and so informative with information that people need, people that is it's helpful. So I will, connect with you both, after the show, and make sure that I get your information, and we'll talk about a date, and I will bring you ladies back. Sister Rashida, thank you, sis. Thank you, thank you, thank you. God bless you. God bless you all for the work that you are doing to help our people. And not just, when I say our people, not just our African American people, but all of us as a whole, to know that we have a voice and that our voice matters. And it is up to us how we get our voices heard. So I'm going to close out. I say thank you. Thank you for joining us on Victory Talk. Thank you to our viewers. We are excited that you joined in tonight. We pray that you will be blessed. We are lifting up prayers for all that are experiencing, difficulties from the COVID-19, whether it be health-wise, whether it be financial-wise, whatever the situations are. We are praying that God will touch, will heal, deliver, set free, do whatever it is and meet your needs. So we at Victorious Living Faith Ministries and Victory Talk, myself, Pastor Phil, and myself, we are praying for you. Our prayer ministry is constantly praying for you. Ladies, we pray that you have an awesome evening. Thank you for sharing your time, your knowledge. Your gifts shall make room for you, and that is evident tonight, each and every one of you. So once again, I am your host, Lady J. I love you like nobody else. I am praying for you, and we pray to see you again next week. That's our show. Good night. Peace.